Hello friends. Today I thought we might do something a little different and I could read a little bit to you. I've always enjoyed being read to. I find that relaxing and comforting since I was a kid. So maybe if you're looking for someone to read to you or to relax or get ready for sleep, maybe this could help. I thought we might do this fun little fact book, or at least a few of the entries in it. This is 100 Things to Know About Numbers, Computing, and Coding. And don't worry if you're not into those things. I think actually if you don't find it interesting, it might be even more relaxing because you can kind of tune out the specifics. But either way, I hope you will enjoy this, and I know this is a bit different, so please let me know if you like this kind of thing or not, and maybe we can do more of it if you do. What's this book about? This book is all about numbers, computers, and coding, and how they are used and how they are developing all the time. Numbers are the basic units people use to count. Over thousands of years, mathematicians have identified more and more complex kinds of numbers. Some codes scramble information to hide or encrypt it. Computers are mechanical or electric machines that can be programmed to run certain processes. The processes run off a code of zeros and ones called binary. Computer codes give computers instructions. This type of coding is known as programming. Number 1. 0 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 0 1 is high in computer language. The only language any computer understands is one called machine code. It's written with just two symbols, 0 and 1. Why? Inside every computer there is at least one memory chip. A memory chip houses millions of tiny switches called transistors, which store all the computer's information or data. Transistors can only exist in one of two states, on or 1 when electricity is flowing through it, and off or 0 when it isn't. A single 1 or 0 is known as a bit. A string of bits forms binary code, which acts as a set of instructions that tells a computer what to do. In binary code, each letter or command typed on a keyboard is converted into a line of 8 bits. H is 01001000, and I is 0110101. Hi. 2. To be fluent in computer, you'd need to learn over 8,000 languages. Machine code is difficult for humans to read and write, so computer scientists use programming languages to write instructions instead. Most coders can write more than one, but nobody understands them all. A set of instructions is called a program. Each language or code is good for writing some types of programs, but not so good for others. New languages are created all the time. This page lists just a few by the decade they were written. So, for example, in the 1950s, you had Fortran and Algo 58, or Alcohol 58. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing these. In the 60s, you had Snowball, Speakeasy, and Basic. In the 70s, Pascal, C, and SQL. In the 80s, we have MATLAB, C++, which is used to make video games. 1990s, Ruby, Java, and Python, used to program robots. The 2000s, Groovy, F#, and Go. And the 2010s brought Swift. Each code has its own interpreter or compiler, a program to translate that code into machine code that a computer can read. The first modern computers were a military secret. In 1946, newspapers around the world reported that a pair of engineers in Philadelphia, USA, had built a new kind of machine called a computer. What reporters didn't know was that military spies had already begun using computers during the Second World War. 30-ton electronic brain unveiled. Meet ENIAC, the electronic numerical integrator and computer. Inventors J. Presper Eckert and John Moakley, with their team at the University of Pennsylvania, operate their revolutionary machine. This mathematical robot works at phenomenal speeds, freeing scientific thought from the drudgery of lengthy calculating work, says ENIAC team. A computer such as ENIAC is any electronic machine that can store information, usually called data, follow a set of instructions called a program telling it what to do with its data, display new data, the result of following each program. ENIAC can perform complicated calculations, for example, to help figure out exactly where a missile would land after being launched. First computer, not the first. In the 1970s, reporters discovered that people had already built and used computers during the Second World War. In the UK, various versions of a machine called Colossus had been used to crack German codes since 1943. Colossus remained secret after the war because it was being used to crack Russian codes until 1971. In wartime Germany, a machine called Z3, designed in 1941 by engineer Konrad Zuse, was used by aircraft engineers to help with complex calculations. It was destroyed by bombs in 1943. A Z4 model completed in 1944 survived the war and was later sold to a Swiss company. 4. The invention of the computer belongs to everyone. In 1971, the company that had paid for ENIAC was taken to court for stealing the idea of the computer. A judge found it guilty, but ruled that no single company could own the idea. The judge declared that the true inventor of the computer was physicist John Atanasoff, who had shared ideas with J. Presper Eckert in 1941. Most computer historians today credit the key ideas behind how computers work to two mathematicians, John von Neumann and Alan Turing, beginning in the 1930s. Five. Most of the internet lies underwater. We think of the internet as a virtual, invisible, imaginary thing, but it's not. It's a physical thing. The internet is a huge network of networks connecting computers around the world. The networks mostly exist as thousands of miles of cables deep under the sea. The cables are laid by ships that drop them into trenches in the seabed. Any two computers anywhere in the world can communicate through these cables. The lines on this map show the positions of the cables under the sea. This network forms the internet. It's basically a web of cables joining up computers, servers, phones, and other devices. At least twice a week, somewhere in the world, a fault occurs when a cable becomes worn down, is stolen, or gnashed by a shark. Scientists aren't sure why, but sharks seem attracted to the cables. When they bite through them, it causes widespread damage. If a cable breaks, information has to take another route around the world, and this can take a long time. Six. 8 sounds great if you speak Mandarin or Cantonese. The word for 8 is written like this in Chinese. It is pronounced ba in Mandarin or bat in Cantonese. I hope that's correct. Ba or bat sound like the words for wealth, which are fa in Mandarin or faat in Cantonese. Because of this, 8 is thought to be lucky. The Beijing Olympics opened at 8 minutes and 8 seconds past 8 on the lucky day of 8/8/08. And a record 300,000 couples registered their marriages in China. In China and Hong Kong, people spend big sums of money on car license plates containing multiple 8s. And they also pay more for phone numbers with an 8 in them. Apartments on the 8th floor of a building are the most popular. The word for 4 is written like this in Chinese. It is pronounced si in Mandarin or sei in Cantonese. Si or sei are pronounced the same as the words for death, but with a different pitch. so 4 is believed to be very unlucky. Tall buildings often don't have a 4th floor, a 14th floor, or a 24th floor, because no one would want to live or work there. Again, please pardon my pronunciations. I'm sure they are not accurate. 7. A dinner party of 13 was unthinkable in 19th century Paris. Among some cultures with Christian heritage, 13 is seen as unlucky. So in Paris in the 19th century, dinner party hosts would even pay a stranger to dine with them if it looked likely that the party would be 13 people. The paid guest was known as the quatorzième, which means 14th in French. Again, probably not how you pronounce that. The Bible describes 13 guests at the final meal that Jesus ate before he was crucified, called the Last Supper. This may be why 13 is considered unlucky. 8. Time began in 1980, according to the clocks on GPS satellites. Global Positioning System Technology, or GPS, uses satellites in space. These satellites are fitted with accurate clocks which have their own particular way of counting time, known as GPS time. GPS time is counted in seconds and weeks, but not days, hours, or minutes. The seconds that pass in a week are counted from 00 midnight every Sunday, and there are 604,800 seconds in a week. Scientists set the start time of satellite clocks as midnight on Sunday, January 6, 1980. Every week is given a number. Week 0 was January 6 through 12, 1980. Every 1,024 weeks, which is about 20 years, the week number resets back to 0. 9. Modern clocks are based on an ancient Egyptian system. The number 12 was hugely important to the people of ancient Egypt. As well as counting in 12s, they also used it to mark the passing of time. The earliest known Egyptian sundials, made 3,500 years ago, divided the day into 12 parts. During the day, the shadow cast by a rod passed over 12 segments in turn, measuring out each hour. Egyptian astronomers observed that the moon had 12 cycles a year. They also noted 12 stars that rose at regular intervals during the night at certain times of year. This led them to divide the night into 12 parts. They made water clocks with 12 water level marks to show the passing of time by night or day. As water dripped out of a container, it passed a new mark each hour. The 24-hour clock we use today comes directly from the Egyptian system of splitting night and day into 2 sets of 12 hours. And we'll do finally this number 10. 2-player computer games began with tennis in a laboratory. In 1958 in Upton, USA, people lined up on the Brookhaven National Laboratory Annual Visitors Day to play tennis for 2. This was the first ever computer game 2 opponents could play. The game's inventor, American physicist Willie Higginbotham, developed it as a novelty to attract guests to the open day. It was displayed on a device normally used to detect electrical currents, known as an oscilloscope. Players fought rally after rally in an endless, scoreless game of tennis. The game was so popular that Higginbotham decided to display it again the following year, but with 2 extra settings. Tennis on the Moon, where players could slow the game down and make the ball lighter, as though they were playing on the moon, where gravity is weaker, and Tennis on Jupiter, where they could speed it up and make the ball heavier, as if playing tennis on Jupiter, where gravity is stronger. So we'll stop there at number 10 today from the 100 Things to Know About Numbers, Computers, and Coding. Again, I would love to know if you like this type of video or want to see more of them. If not, that's okay. Just trying some new things here, and some might work and some might not. But I hope this video finds you well and maybe a little more relaxed and hopefully a little less anxious. And until next time.